Hey, Scrap Gold Base, just watched your video about when the end of the world was going to come, in your opinion. And you gave the verse where Jesus says the gospel has to be preached into all nations and then the end would come. You know, when King David, 1,000 years BC or so, was on the earth, there's 150 million people approximately on the earth at that time by calculations, and when Jesus walked the earth there was double that, about 300 million. So when Jesus said the gospel had to be preached into all nations, let's say there's 300 million people that had to be reached with the gospel. Today, Christianity will estimate around 2.7 billion people that have not heard the gospel. So, by your calculations, if the end of the world is coming, the number of people that need to be reached would be getting smaller and smaller, because the gospel would be being preached closer to all the nations. But it's actually, statistics are telling us that's getting further away. But I think your biggest problem is you want to place that into today's world, when Jesus told his own apostles, you would not have finished going through all the cities of Jerusalem until the Son of Man be come. Daniel tells us in his prophecy about the last days, and Jesus fulfilled those prophecies. Hebrews chapter 1, verse 1 and 2 tells us those were the last days. But as far as the gospel being preached to all the nations, in Romans 1:8, I thank my God through Jesus Christ for all of you, because your faith is proclaimed in all the world. And in Romans 10:18, I ask, have they not heard? Indeed they have, for their voice has gone out to all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. These statements of Paul in Paul's letters to the church at Rome were written around 57 AD. In Colossians 1, 5 and 6, the gospel which has come to you, as indeed in the whole world, it is bearing fruit and growing. Christ said the gospel was to be preached to every creature. Paul says in Colossians 1:23, the gospel which ye have heard, and which was preached to every creature which is under heaven. Jesus said to preach the gospel in all the world. Paul said it was done. Jesus said to preach the gospel to every creature. Paul said it was done. No matter what we might understand as the end, the Bible is clear about what the end was. Jesus told his apostles, do not preach that the end is near until you see all these signs. And sure enough, his apostles began to preach that it was the final days, the last hour. The axe was at the root of the tree. Peter says, now is the time for judgment to begin at the house of God. To say that Christ brought in a new age, the age of Christ, which has no end, and to say that you believe it's fixing to end, in my opinion, is going against the Bible, against the Word of God. So, I know that's what you've been taught. That's what you're going to hear from 99% of Christians that you talk to and have associations with. But I think you need to get in there and see what the Bible actually says. Peace, love, justice, understanding, music, and friends.